Self-Sufficiency. In this episode we're just going to be taking a really quick look at how you can raise mealworms at home.
So when I talk about raising mealworms, these are the sorts of worms that I mean. They're not actually a worm, they're the larval stage of the darkling beetle, but they get called mealworms, that's their common name. They're used to feed anything that eats insects really, so geckos, chickens, lizards, you name it. If it eats insects, it's probably being fed mealworms at some point. But they are really easy to keep, and so we'll just have a quick little look at the bits and pieces you're going to need. So in order to get started with mealworms, you're going to be needing wheat bran. That's what they live in, that's what they eat most of the time. They need a water source in the form of any of the sort of more solid vegetables, so carrots, potatoes, cabbages are really good as well. And you're going to need the actual worms themselves. They come in a little tub like this, just standard normal worms, the cheaper the better. That way you know they probably haven't been treated with any kind of hormone treatment that would stop them from growing. Once you've got hold of your basic ingredients, you then need somewhere where you're actually going to be keeping the mealworms in. I use this. This is just a stack of 4 drawers I got from a hardware store. It's smooth plastic on the inside so that they can't climb out. It's cheap and cheerful really, it's hard wearing, it's easy to clean. It's going to sort of raise me many generations of mealworms to come. And this is the new one that I'm setting up today. This will be the next supply for me in the next few months to come. Right, so actually starting the mealworms off, we need to take one of our drawers, just take it right out. Then we take the bedding, so this is just our standard wheat bran, remember? Pour that on in. They're going to need about 1 inch, you don't want much more than that, in fact that's plenty. They need enough that they can live in, they can bury themselves in, they can feel comfortable in, but not so much that they're going to be sort of digging down several inches. And that much wheat bran in there, that's going to last a good 3 months at least before it'll need to be changed or cleaned out. They'll munch their way through most of it over that time. If you see it depleting down, just replace it. And we take our little worms. These ones are a reasonable size. They're not adult yet, they're not fully grown, they're not ready to start pupating yet. You'll find there are dead ones in there. That's that black one that you can just see there. That's one that's died. Discard that, there's no point keeping them in there. And literally just pour them in. In they go. And they'll spread themselves out, they'll work their way into all of the corners, and they'll live in there quite comfortably for the next few months. That's literally it. That's all you've got to do just to get them started off in the first place. So next thing we need to do, we just need to give them a little bit of food. Now when your mealworms first come out, when you first bought them and they've been delivered, you'll probably find they're quite poor condition. They've been living just in bran for quite some time by this point, and they'll be hungry, they'll be thirsty. You need to get them plumped up. There's no point having them unhealthy if you're then going to feed them to your own animals. You're just feeding your own animals unhealthy food, which kind of defeat the object of giving them fresh food. But that's plenty. 3 pieces of carrot, a couple of bits of potato, that is absolutely plenty. That is enough to keep them going for the next week or so. I'll just keep an eye on it, make sure that if it starts going down, if it starts looking like it's drying out, then I'll replace the pieces. But that's it for them. They are all ready to go. So back they go in the stack of drawers. So this is my stack of drawers that I've been using for about 3 years now. I just thought I'd quickly show you how I separate them out. So in the bottom drawer, this is where I keep the adult beetles. There are about 200 adults in here. I don't bother keeping any more than that. You don't need thousands and thousands of them that you sometimes see people keeping. They breed quite well, so you'll probably get about 500 eggs off a female, assuming half of them are female. Then you're still going to get thousands and thousands of mealworms. They live for about 10 weeks. So every couple of weeks they get moved on. What they do, you can't keep the adults in with the babies because they'll end up eating them. So what I do, every couple of weeks, I will literally pick out all of the adults and then put them into the next drawer above. They go into the next one at the top. The bedding stays in the base. The babies will grow up in the bedding without the adults. They're in the one above. That's how you separate them out. So those are the adults, I'll leave them to it. Next couple of drawers up is babies. This contains eggs. It was only about a couple of weeks ago that I last separating this one out, so you can't see anything in there at the moment. in a couple of weeks' time, I'll be able to see tiny little immature mealworms wandering around in there. At the moment, it just looks like wheat bran. Next one up. This is where my slightly older ones are kept at the moment. So in here, I've got sort of about an inch long mealworms. This is my sort of third generation that have come along now. There's maybe 200 or 300 in there. They're in there at the moment with some Morio worms as well, which as you can see are a lot bigger, but they're a whole other subject, they are. But they live in there quite happily with the mealworms. They'll all just be in, they're all vegetarian. They just eat the vegetables rather than eating each other. So that's where they're growing. These ones now as well, these are at the stage where I start looking at feeding them to the chickens. They're about an inch long, that's plenty. There's 200 or 300 of them in there buried down at the bottom. So they're chicken feed. And then lastly, I have another tub of slightly older babies. So in the top drawer of the container, I've got the little baby mealworms. These guys are about 3 weeks old now. You can just about see them wriggling around in there. They're maximum about 4 millimeters long now. It's going to take them about 12 weeks to reach adult size, when they'll be sort of worthwhile of feeding to any of your livestock. Up until that point, they're just tiny. Just leave them in the tub. They'll grow slowly but continuously. Keep them somewhere dark, keep them somewhere warm to maximise their growth rate. And then just wait for them to become a bit bigger. And that's all you really need for raising mealworms. You just need to move, so you've got a bottom drawer that's full of adults. In a couple of weeks they get moved up to the top drawer, leaving their bedding behind. They lay their eggs in the fresh bedding in this one. A couple of weeks later they get moved up to the next one, leaving the eggs and bedding behind again. You just keep doing that in a cycle over and over until eventually you've just got trays and trays of adult growing mealworm larvae that you can then feed to the chickens or geckos or whatever it is that you've got that needs to be fed on mealworms. And that's all there is to it. One of the easiest feedstuffs you can get.